I won't tell you what I just said.
No, don't. Welcome to our podcast, How to Stay Married So Far. Why are you pointing at me like that?
I'm wearing a hat because I've just had a shower and my hair's wet and it looks ridiculous.
Right.
I'm not. I don't think I look. I don't think I'm some kind of hip hop boy.
To the listener who doesn't care, he's explaining that because we're also on YouTube.
Yeah. Don't want to look like some b-boy Mark Wahlberg wannabe.
You do a little bit.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. There's so many of you listening to this podcast now.
I'm watching
Please do, like and comment, because we love to read your comments. We can't answer them, but we read them, and they often inform other podcasts that we might do. So they are really valuable to us.
No, and please like it on iTunes specifically, and give us a rating, only if you like it, obviously, but hopefully you do.
Yeah. If you don't like it, keep it to yourself.
Yeah, if you don't like it, just unsubscribe and don't mention it to anyone ever. You know, easier to say nothing than say something bad. It's what we do with a lot of films we really hate. We just don't review them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Because I think, anyway.
No, I was just going to say, I've got my hat like this and it's really hurting and it's constricting my head.
Why don't you just have wet hair?
I don't want wet hair, babe. I don't want wet hair. Okay, so I'm going to give you a hint as to what today's is about.
Okay. I don't know.
Would I lie to you? Would I lie to you, honey? Who sang that?
I don't know.
Eurythmics, wasn't it? Wasn't it Annie Lennox?
Maybe.
Would I lie to
it
you,
was.
baby?
Yeah, Annie Lennox.
Another one of those great songs. Anyway, lying. Have we lied to each other? Should we lie to each other? When we lie to each other, can we lie to each other? Can you see that I'm lying? Is lying a necessary part of any long-term relationship? Or can even the most innocent of lies eventually lead to more sinister lies?
I don't...
Boom!
Okay, right, well, lying, there's so many different grades to lying, isn't there?
But well, the first one is lying down.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're going to take your silly hat off.
I do feel silly with my silly hat on.
I don't think a marriage can survive without lying.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
Yeah, I would say that I lie every single day in our marriage.
Both my armpits have started flooding. Shit.
Now, I'm being bold by calling it a lie. I could easily be manipulative and say, well, it's not a lie, it's just getting on. But it is. It's lies. It's lies to make the world go round a bit easier. So, for instance, do you want mashed potatoes or roast potatoes? Oh, I really don't mind, but actually I really want roast potatoes.
Right.
I'm lying.
You're lying?
Yeah. Now, a lot of people would say that that's...
not a lie.
Not really a lie, but it is really, the definition of a lie is not telling the truth.
Absolutely.
Is it not?
But what is the truth?
So what we have to go into is, do we believe in white lies?
Oh, well, what's the difference?
Well, a white lie is something that my interpretation of a white lie is something that is told for the better of the person that you're saying it to, rather than for the better of the person that is lying.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if I was to say to you, like if you were to say to me, you look gorgeous in that, because you know 100% that I haven't got time to get changed, I'm nervous, I'm going to an event and I need to feel great. Is that a lie? Yeah, right. It's a lie if I don't look gorgeous, but it's a white lie because it's to benefit me. So I tell the kind of lies that benefit our relationship.
Wow. Okay. So you see lies as...
He's actually gone pale.
Yeah.
For the listener who's not watching us on YouTube, he's gone pale.
So there's two very distinct types of lies for you. So what's the opposite of a white lie?
I think there's many different kinds of lies.
Because the context of this was years ago, I developed a program idea, which unfortunately wasn't picked up, but I thought it was quite a rich one, which was exploring for BBC4 the idea that lying is an element of human survival. I.e., it's always seen as a bad thing. But if you didn't have lying, for example, when the state lies to you about terrible things happening in order to manage sort of civil unrest and all that kind of stuff, and with children, parenting is really a really complicated process of lying in the most benevolent way to your children.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time, almost. And so, I'm intrigued by the way in which lying is something that's quite necessary. But then I know that there have been periods of my life where I've just lied about everything. And there are and it's interesting, I think there are different lies for men and women, and there are different departments in which men and women lie differently.
I think also there is the complication of children and lies.
Yes.
So Maddie used to tell the most fantastical, what some people would call lies, or we were driving along and Daddy knocked this woman over and she
God,
was
yes.
bleeding and Daddy just drove by. And
And
this is when she was tiny on
I
the
had
way
to
to
drive back and
nursery.
check that I
Mark had
was
to
in
go.
a total mess.
We were petrified thinking Mark had knocked somebody
Yes.
over without realising. It was just the wing mirror, it was this, it was that. And like some people would say, oh, that child should be told off because she was lying. But I didn't see it as a
No.
lie.
Well-
She absolutely...
I was a bit pissed off. She went
But
into
she-
school saying her head hit the window, there was blood. At the
Yeah.
point that she did elaborated the story to blood hitting and her lips going.
Yeah, we knew
I thought,
then.
seen a film.
Yeah, it's a film. So I actually, when... God, we've already gone off into so many different
I was gonna
areas. I
say,
think we should
yeah.
probably stay with marriage.
Yeah, it's not about
first.
parenting, no.
Yeah, that's a different area. But
So-
just an idea of that, just quickly, is that to me was creativity.
Right.
Some people would say that that's setting up a pattern for lying
Yes.
through their life.
Yeah.
So when you were a child, I used to do those things where I would do these incredible exaggerations or my mum still to this day refers to me as a liar. Because you're such a liar. And I it does always
Quite
hurt
harsh.
when she says it.
Yeah.
Because actually
It was
I don't
flights
think
of fantasy
myself,
when you were a kid.
Yeah, flights of fantasy. But actually she's right. I can lie. But I think it's always said with such viciousness, not from my mum, I'm just generally liar. But I think it is about. I think both of us have really good emotional intelligence.
Right.
You know, a great commodity. I think it's a great asset to have emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
When I met you, I think yours was a lot like, obviously academically you are way above me.
Where are we
Your
going with this?
intellectual intelligence.
Where are we going with this?
No, but your intellectual intelligence, there's
Yeah.
no comparison between you and I. But I think part of what makes our marriage work is that when we met, I had a much higher
I was a moron.
No, I had a much higher emotional intelligence
Right.
than you did.
Right.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I would, and also help.
But also that's
help
because 7 years younger.
I was going to say help by the fact
Yeah.
that you're a bit older, but I mean I think
But
it's
also helped by the fact that I came from a much more stable home and a huge family. Like, only know me with my family much smaller. But you've got to remember, I grew up in an atmosphere of, at the weekend, 10, 20 people round. You learn emotional intelligence when you're fighting to get your line. I mean, look at me now, I'm on loose women. I'm getting my lines in where I can. I was literally trained to be a loose woman. And I was trained to understand people's, what do people want? What makes somebody happy? Da, 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 da. And I think that's where my white lie ability comes from. I'm a rescuer. I like people to feel good. I feel good when other people feel good. So I will often say what I think people want to hear or need to hear. Now, I'm sure there's people listening go, well, you're a liar then.
I was going to say, because you do take exaggeration to the point of lying sometimes in storytelling, and I'll hear that and I'll let it go because it makes a great story, because you
Yeah.
are an entertainer. And I think,
like all that, that's my cumin and spice line.
right, okay.
So when I
okay.
add a cumin and spice, so I will say, I might say, so an example of that might be, oh my God, Mark used to fall down 10 flights of stairs. Well, because everyone would know you wouldn't have fallen down 10 flights of stairs because you would be dead.
Yeah.
But everybody knows that that's me just doing a dramatic flourish.
Okay, well, I mean, this is already a little bit like your handbag in the middle of a room exploded everywhere as soon as we've opened the topic. I mean, there's the situation of when you meet each other at the beginning of a relationship. It's an interesting point at which a lot of lies are bubbling around, because I think when one wants to impress someone or one wants to pull someone, or it's not necessarily lying about prowess or lying about what one's done or lying about things, so to speak. But
Putting yourself in the best light.
But for example,
Lying by omission.
Precisely, lying by omission. And I know for a fact that when I met you, or first met you, and whenever I met girls or partners or potential partners, I would lie or obfuscate or by omission not talk about the situation with my children. I didn't want to put people off, so I'd always be sort of ambiguous about my life and about my setup and about for example, the fact that Izzy and Fleur come from two separate mums. I would lie about that.
Right, okay. So what do we think about lying by omission? I don't like that phrase
I think
because
you
I
lie.
don't think you are lying by omission. I think everybody has the right to keep some stuff back.
Right.
I think where people so often go wrong in relationships, I've said this to countless people through my life that have had problems in maintaining relationships, keeping relationships. I say, you gave away everything at the beginning. You told them everything. And I just don't think that is right. I think, say you had said to me straight off the bat, oh, I've got 2 children from 2 different mums. That would have immediately cast you in for me and would have held me back considerably from you. So I think you have the right to decide that I don't want to be labelled. I want to find out stuff. I mean, it's like me when I first met you. I didn't want to tell you the first off what had happened with me and my first husband because it was just such a terrible, terrible thing. And I didn't want you to, you know, think of me in that light or think of me, well, not in that light, but think
No, I know
of
what you
me
mean.
in those, I didn't want you to think of me as a tragic person.
Sure.
So-
or a person around whom tragedy occurs.
But a lot of people, and I'm sure the listener now, there is somebody saying, I would see that as a lie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it is I mean, the most obvious one is when you meet someone and you lie about the fact that you're in a relationship. I mean, it's the most. I mean, I've
Well, you were in a relationship.
Well,
when I met
precisely,
you, and you lied about it for about 15 years.
Every relationship I've ever been in, I've lied about the fact that I wasn't in a relationship going into the next one. What's it called when you have that slip over? There's a phrase that women use, isn't it? Bleed, or when it overhang. Is it overhang? Something. No, but anyway, but one would always. I mean, so that is going through the list of some of the things that people most often lie about. That and the other ones. Crossover, exactly, crossover, and. I think for both of us, there's always that jostling at the beginning of a relationship as to whether one fully knows the truth about the situation, because everyone's coming out of bitty, slightly confused, mucky, messy situations.
And I think also, often, if somebody hasn't had a good big gap between a person, they're carrying a lot of stuff from that last relationship that would have been... I mean, certainly when I met you, the relationship that I'd been in before I met you was a very destructive relationship. It was a very unhappy relationship. It came off the back of my grief and my loss and my...
disorientation.
Yeah, and it was a relationship where there was a lot of drink involved and a lot of... I wouldn't have been in that relationship if I hadn't been somebody that was in grief and not myself. I wasn't myself. So when I first met you, I was quite reluctant to... I knew that the healthy, right thing for me to do was to have a long gap, maybe have a year or 2 years on my own. And so I was kind of reluctant with you. I've really pulled back from you. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
I was just like... I do like this guy, but oh God, what am I doing? And it was madness. If I'd sat down with the therapist would have said, if this was meant to be, this guy will come around again. It is not the right time. And it wasn't the right time.
No, when you look back at it, it was total madness from both sides, really.
It was total madness, but there you go. I could have sat in a therapist's chair and a therapist would have told me that.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't be sitting here happily married with 2 children, with a great life. So... the right thing isn't always the right thing anyway.
Exactly. And I think I sometimes do think about our story, and I think on every level, I sometimes wince when I go back. No, I wince with sort of anxiety at the possibilities that could have happened, because actually, in no instance when you actually write down how it worked for us, should it have worked. But that, in a weird way, there's a great liberation in that for anyone listening, where your situation is strange and weird and maybe you feel could be too rushed. Is that actually it goes to prove that the standard formal systems that we have in society for relationships aren't always applicable to everyone. But
I've known people that have been so happy together, you know, done it all right, been engaged for 3 or 4 years. We got engaged and married within 4 months. 5 months. You know, and then they get married and they break up in a year.
Yeah.
So there are no guarantees, but this is for sure. If you don't sit down and communicate and talk to each other, it doesn't matter what the setup is,
or how good the
will not
relationship
work.
is. Yeah.
And because we've been forced into that at the beginning, because we were both quite damaged individuals.
Car crashes.
We were car crashes, but because we were car crashes, and because of Maddie.
Yeah, no, Maddie, well, I always say that.
Because of Maddie. Because if it hadn't been for Maddie, we wouldn't have sat down and made it work.
No.
And we made it work.
No, absolutely.
And there will have been... I mean, my God, I told you tons of lies in those first weeks. I was really frightened when I realised, well, because, okay, well, when things were really bad with us, I didn't want to be with you. I just didn't want to be with you. I was just like, I was so unhappy. But I pretended that I did because I knew I needed to make it work. But I told you this, you know this. But if I hadn't have told those lies, if they are lies,
but isn't that funny? Because those lies that you were probably telling emotionally were I would have sensed that because I wasn't stupid, and that will have fueled the fear that you were lying about potentially meeting someone else because I knew you weren't in love with me. So the fundamental lies in a relationship, which are like lies around lying about being faithful or unfaithful and all those kind of things. Around the time that I remember my jealousy and everything being absolutely off the scale, it was becoming a sort of self-fueling cycle.
Oh, it always does. Anyone who is jealous, if you are acting out on your jealousy, you will make your life 1,000,000 times worse. Because what you don't want to do is get your partner thinking about every single thing they say. Because your partner will diminish to a dot. I said this the other day on Loose Women. I said, if you're in a jealous relationship and you start to lie and you start to diminish what you are and you start to try and be something else, you will eventually become a dot. And that what you have to do is maintain as well as you can who you are and keep saying that. But if they're a good person, like you were a really good person, you weren't like a jealous, nasty piece of work. You were a really good person that was struggling with low self-esteem and you had bad jealousy issues. And if I had pandered to all your jealousy issues and not gone out or not had friends or not done this or not gone abroad or not done any of those things, we would have completely and utterly ended up as dust. And but I get it. If you're in a jealous relationship, sometimes just for the peace to shut somebody up, you would tell a lie. You would say, I remember when you were in your height of jealousy, say I was going to be going out with the girls or doing something, I wouldn't tell you that until the day before. Because if I told you the week before, I'd have a whole week of, so what time will you be back? So da-da-da, so da-da-da. Now, is that a lie because I haven't told you?
Or is that being, what's the word when you're being generous with the truth or whatever it is,
Well, no, that's called lying by omission. And I take umbrage with lying with omission. Now, if you ask something directly, so like if I'd said to you at the beginning, so are your children from the same mum? And you'd said no. That would be...
Yeah, no, I get that.
That would have been horrendous. That would have been relationship breaking.
Okay.
Because for me, that's a looking down the barrel lie. But you not telling me, I think was your right, because you wanted me to get to know you before I drew conclusions about you,
What's the biggest lie you've made to me then?
Oh God, I can't think of it like that. I think,
but it would be a lie. But it would be
like
a lie more about how you felt. That period of time you see as a time when you were having to lie about how much you wanted to be with me, essentially, because you just couldn't bear it. It's just interesting.
I can't remember the detail of that, but the thing is, eventually, of course, I told you all of that, and I said that I'm not happy and I'm not. But that's by lying by omission, I suppose.
But did you know that one of the major things that people lie about a lot at the beginning of a relationship is about how many partners they've had? That's at the top of the list of lies that go into a relationship.
I watched you go off with somebody one night, and like 2 days later you'd forgotten because you were so drunk. So I would never ask you how many people. And to be quite honest, that whole question, if somebody asked me that question, which you did, I would tell them to F off.
Oh, right.
Because I think that is the beginning of something that just eats away. I just don't think people should get into that stuff. What difference does it make?
Well, I suppose what people are looking for, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because the whole how many partners have you had before works two ways. You would lie about it if you've got shame. You could be lying about it because you're ashamed of it, because you're embarrassed about it, because you feel that it's symptomatic. And I'd have thought that threads through for a lot of women who
Well, that's what I
for
don't
whom
like
wrongly,
that.
for whom wrongly, there's a
Yeah.
pejorative judgment that if you've had a number of sexual partners, whereas for a man,
So sexist.
men will often lie about how many
They'll increase.
people. Yeah, precisely, and it's an intriguing and interesting area of lying. Now, to a partner, everyone, I think, is inclined to want to bring the numbers down because they don't want necessarily their partner to think that they were a flibbity-gibbet and, promiscuous and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's curious that is one of the bedrock lies.
But I don't think that's a lie. I think that you come into a relationship and that should be
interesting
the
you say that.
relationship.
Yeah.
I've seen people torn to pieces by going over and over and over the past and who they've slept with. It's the past.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, let's not forget what you were like. You were a bloody nightmare asking me stuff all the
No,
time.
I know.
And I said to you, I will not discuss
No,
it.
no, no, and-
because I don't have to. It's like when you go into a relationship, that person doesn't have ownership of your life.
No,
before
you're
that
right. And I think
relationship.
that obsession with the past, and I think you're absolutely right, it's the most correct. It's like a form of addiction because
Yeah.
the thing about the past that keeps delivering like an alcoholic drink is that it's unchangeable and it's unquantifiable other than to the person who has experienced it. So in a sense, inscribed into the pursuit of truth is, and it is going to be a
It's a
knowledge that you're never going to
nonsense.
fully get the truth. So you're always going to be looking out for the way in which you're. Now,
I think it's a really good thing for people to say, do you know what? I don't actually want to talk about that.
yeah, maybe it should
Why
be like
not?
maybe it
Why-
should be like a bylaw that you're not allowed to ask people how many partners you've
If
had.
you want to talk about it, you want to talk about it. But I think if you've asked your partner and they don't really want to, you see, my thing isn't about numbers, isn't about anything. I just think, why is that person asking me that? It's rather like when somebody wants to look in your phone or what is that? It's a level of ownership that I just don't like, and I think it always leads to unhappiness. So let me ask you, I've done a lot of talking now. What's the biggest lie that you think you've ever told me? He looks so nervous.
What do you mean? No, I mean, well, the great thing is that I can't lie.
You can't remember.
No. I mean, I think at the very beginning of our relationship, I think all of my sort of flirtations and everything, it was a mess. It was an absolute mess of confusion. So I like to think that it was a cleaner start to things than it was. But again,
But I always knew it wasn't.
well, exactly. So that's less a lie. I mean, in terms of lying to you, I mean, I've probably lied to you about how much or how specifically I've dealt with my recovery, if I've gone to a meeting or I haven't gone to a meeting. I mean, I used to lie, when I was a boy, when I was a child, and this is very interesting what you said about being in a family full of people where you could read people, and you could argue, well, that means you get quite sophisticated at knowing how to work people, but actually there's a positive to that. When I was a child, truth or knowledge was something that one had to possess and hold on to, because I was trying to constantly orientate myself. And not in a sort of manipulative or kind of Machiavellian way, but I was clinging to elements of truth for dear life. And where truth or reality was insufficient or didn't offer me enough, it makes me quite emotional to talk about, actually, I would fictionalize stuff. And I think that's why fiction and film is so important to me, because I could run into these worlds and I would create them. And so when Maddie does that, I can really relate to it. And it's, the most negative way you could describe that process was lying. And I always remember my nan and granddad would always say, his imagination's always like this, and he's always running wild with his imagination. I was doing something that's very, very like Maddie. And so when I was a child, clinging to those things was, so, I holding on to the truth and maybe manipulating the truth for my own needs and then splurging that truth out differently. I mean, a prime example of that was when I went to university. I was so socially worried because I'd had a teenage life where, because of my mum's sexuality, not because I was anti it, but because of the partner she was with, I'd had no friends and all that kind of stuff. I thought
You should just probably explain, because maybe somebody's listening the first time.
that my mum's gay, and
Yeah.
that when I was, and so and during my teenage years, I really struggled with not her sexuality, but I struggled with her partner and our living situation at home.
The partner was a horrible
woman.
horrible
and
person.
and so I had a very limited social circle as a teenager, and so when I went to university, I thought this, I said,
You wanted
no,
to
I'm
be
gonna,
everything.
yeah, and I lied about cycling to university. The fact that people weren't asking, how did you carry that case?
Right, okay, so that's interesting, you see. That is a lie,
Yeah.
right? But I don't judge that lie.
Yeah, but I'm giving you context to it.
Yeah, because I think what you wanted to do, you wanted to go and you wanted to be
impress
something.
people. Yeah, I did.
And I think that's quite an endearing lie.
Yeah. Well, my then partner didn't. She said, "Oh, you fucking lied about." I mean, so when you've then been in
a cute lie.
Yeah. So lying. I do struggle with lying, and it's really interesting because as I've got older and as I've kind of got weller, I haven't been able to lie so much. And I think
as you become sober, you can't lie. I mean, your lies are so awfully.
They're diabolical.
I mean, it's so transparent. But when
I think
you
I used
were
to
drinking,
drink, but I used to drink to avoid the lies. I would get myself into a mess with the lies.
Yeah, but when you were drinking, I mean, what can somebody that's in the grips of alcoholism do other than lie? Because you've got to lie about how much you're drinking, you've got to lie about where you were
you're
drinking,
living a lie.
what time you were drinking to. So you're living a lie the whole time.
So then, in that sense, that's why I hesitated when you asked. Yeah. Yes, you're lying about where are you, you're lying about how much you've drunk, you're lying about who you're with, you're lying about where you've been, you're lying about the fact that you haven't drunk too much, so when I got done for drink driving, so... it goes back to this thing, sorry to bring alcohol up, but if you actually unpack a lot of the problems in most relationships and most people's personalities, it revolves around sort of alcohol in some way. Most of my lying revolved around
actually. I wonder how many people in a relationship, the lie that they've told has been because of alcohol.
Because they've done something wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
so if you do something in alcohol and then you lie about it, where's the real crime?
Well, where's the real lie? But here's a couple. I've got some categories here of what the most common things that couples lie to each other about. The other one is where they were, or where they are, or when they're coming home. Now, I think this is a funny one, and again, it depends on context, because I know that
it's about intention.
It's about intention.
Because I could say, I'm going to be back at 10, because I think I am going to be back at 10, but then, the time is gone, and you're talking to somebody else, and then the card. I think you should be allowed to be a certain age and not bloody say what time you're going to be home.
Well, there's that. So, in a sense, so that's an interesting point, though. So, in a sense, sometimes the necessity to lie is born of an unjustified inquiry.
Exactly.
So you could argue that, because lying about who you're with. I mean, would you ever lie to me about who you're with? No, exactly. I mean, so
I don't have that kind of horrible life.
No.
And I do think that's a horrible life.
Yeah.
When you're lying about who you're with.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because it's a world, like we always say this at Loose Women, how do people have these sorts of secrets about liaisons
secrets
and all
lies?
this? Because
so
everything
exhausting.
is recorded, everything is seen.
Well, it is now.
Yeah.
I remember and this, I'm not saying this in any way like it was a good thing. I mean, it can't be a good thing. But I remember at my worst point, I was lying to 3 different women about the fact that in a night, I was moving between 3 venues because I was editing in town. And I was it was like out of a film. And I do remember that night. And I do remember that night thinking, I haven't got the energy. I haven't got the
not bloody surprised. 3 women in 3 different pubs.
Yeah, in 3 different pubs.
Whilst editing.
Got to head back to the edit, scoot around the corner to do. Oh, hang on, something's cropped up with the dub. Scoot. I mean,
that's awful.
Terrible. I mean,
did they find out?
The drink over. I don't know. Probably. I don't know.
Were you trying to decide which one you'd go home with?
No, I was thinking hopefully I can have all 3 on the go at the same time. Not literally that
night.
No, not like that. But just But I mean, that was the febrile nature of the chaos of what was going on in my life.
Funny, isn't it, as well, that chaos and that and the greed that alcohol.
Well, it does. People often say this thing about, does it unlock the real you? I don't think it unlocks the real you. But I do think it unlocks the real urges that you would normally, and quite rightly, lock down. Or, it can unlock the real. Another one that people lie a lot about with their partners is finding other people attractive. And this is a funny one, because I don't think we do we? I don't think we lie about it. I just don't think we look at people in that way.
Hang on a minute. What is lying? Again, we are all grown adults.
Are you working with this person? Do you find them attractive? I think it's probably
Does this mean that we have to be a constant open vessel where we are saying everything that's going on in our head, otherwise we're lying? That's ownership. That's slavery. That's like, So, I think what that means, I mean, I'm trying to think what the hell does that mean? in what situation?
Yeah.
So,
In the abstract, someone off the telly, or someone you're working with, or whether it's someone in a group of
don't we
friends.
as human beings find people attractive all the time? I don't think that's a sin. A sin would be to be unfaithful, to be lying about that, and to be hurting all the people that you love. That's a sin. But there's too much control wanted within couples. You know, I want you to never think anybody's attractive.
Yeah,
I don't want you to watch a film and think that movie star is gorgeous. I don't want you to think, wow, that's a gorgeous man. I don't want you to... That's crazy. Crazy, batshit crazy.
Do you want to know one of the most common things that men lie about? Their height.
Oh, you do.
I don't. I am
Mark, you are not
5'10". Maddie gets really incandescent on my behalf on this. She measured me.
Okay.
I'm 5'10", but most men do say they're 6 feet tall. I think
What do they
that's
say
funny.
about their beep?
Well, men do add, they do add inches, and they do lie about their penises. So I mean, you know, this is something else. But you know, the other thing that's quite funny, an increasingly new category of lying is partners who lie about having watched an episode of a box set on their own. Which
Even that I told you, and you didn't let me bloody off for weeks and weeks and weeks.
But in modern parlance, it's
I should
become
have kept that to
quite.
myself.
It's become a big deal.
Oh, it's a massive deal.
It's seen as an act of absolute
Oh,
dereliction.
it's awful. Like some people I know at work that say, "Oh, I don't care. I just watch them," and I think, "My God, that's awful."
Yeah, but people say, I've noticed women say it with a particular viciousness. Yeah, I watched it without.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird, isn't it? It's
I've got something
really,
in my eye.
really weird. And I'm just looking at some of these other ones. I'm on my way home, I promise.
Wow. I mean, is that a lie? Again, we're talking about levels of control that
A
are
lot
like
of and a lot of
crazy.
people, a lot of lying occurs around money, apparently, with secret bank accounts.
Oh, can you imagine the drama of having secret?
But that's
bank account?
almost
What
as
do you do
difficult to
with the
maintain as a
envelopes?
relationship,
No,
isn't
no,
it?
no. I think there is lying about money spent for sure, and I get that. But again, I wouldn't say that's lying. I'm saying as an adult, you have the right to not have to come in. You know, you're not my dad. I'm not your mum.
No.
You don't have to come in and answer to me for everything. I wouldn't want you to think that you've got to say, "Oh, I want to buy this. What do you think? Do you think we should?" Or say to you, "I want to buy this. What do you think? Do you think we should?" I would just. Well, I suppose. Well, no. Hang on. Let's think about that. If you're in a. I mean, we have everything shared. So I suppose if you have got somebody that is a mad spender and lying about it, you have to be. We're not. I think that we are just generally very respectful of that. We wouldn't go and suddenly spend a whole load of money without talking about it with each other. But I suppose some people might.
Yeah.
So I have sympathy for that.
Well, and the category that a lot of women lie about is sexual satisfaction.
I can't get no satisfaction.
And of course, that brings to mind Meg Ryan. So, have you ever lied in the bedroom? To your stomach.
That was your stomach.
It was your stomach.
I'm not talking about any of that.
Have you?
I'm not talking about any of that.
Oh my God,
With
that
our
means you
children.
might have done.
No, Mark, I'm not talking about that.
Oh my God. But apparently it is a category, and that must be something you talk about in Loose Women, whether women do that. It's quite hard for
what
men
I
to do
would
it.
say
No
is,
pun intended.
I think it's really stupid for women to lie about it, because then you're stuck with lying about it forevermore.
Yeah, it must be a
If
real-
you haven't had a good time, don't pretend you have. Otherwise, you're going to have to pretend that you have. There's one person that I know that shall remain nameless, who in the first few weeks did such an I'll tell you after who it was. Did such an enormous act, like on the level of Meg Ryan, that she's had to do it her entire marriage.
That's so exhausting.
Awful.
So from a purely pragmatic level,
Yeah.
you're saying, don't lie, girls, because you've only got to keep...
Because then you've got to keep up. What a boring lie to have to do for the rest of your marriage. Don't do it.
But is there a burden of responsibility to feel like you need to lie
if
as a
you've
woman?
got to lie, then, you know, he needs to work on what he's doing.
Right.
If you lie, then he's got he's not got to improve his skills.
Yeah. I haven't with you. I mean, I've lied before. But, you know, you just do sometimes. I think it's just part, you know, yeah. Anyway, on that note, I definitely want to find out who that was.
Thank you so much for listening.
Tell me who that was.
I will, after this. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank
Please
you.
don't forget to like us on iTunes and comment.
And subscribe on iTunes as well. We really love it on iTunes. I love going there. And you can leave comments, though we can't reply to them. So
if you subscribe on our YouTube channel, hit the notification bell. That means you'll be notified because we do upload so much content, all different kinds of videos on a daily basis. And if you've hit that notification bell, well, you'll be notified.
We've done lies. I think someday we should do secrets, because obviously it's the phrase secrets and lies.
Same thing.
Is it really?
It'd be more or less the same conversation for me.
Would it really?
Yeah, it's not about ownership. Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean that person owns everything that you think and feel.
As an added bonus, you've got a one-line podcast there, all about secrecy in relationships. Dealt with, done, sorted.